showed that you had video of him, you were tracking them down. At this point, what was he up to?
You know, I don't have a lot of specific details, but he went shopping at a number of stores in town. I could not tell you what he was. I don't have that level of detail what he was purchasing, but you know, most stores now have video, and so the investigators have been able to retrace, you know, back. They've been going back from the time of the incident, and they have him in several of our local stores on video.
Do you think he was buying things for this event?
I don't know.
We saw results from the search warrant that was executed at the Nevada apartment that he had been living in that showed that some of the things that they seized were empty shotgun and rifle boxes, a gas mask, empty ammunition boxes, I think a bulletproof vest, some electronic devices. Do we have a sense at this point if how like premeditated and well planned this was, or if he was potentially planning something in addition to this as well?
I don't know that I'm really prepared to comment on that because I don't have enough of the detail. It certainly seems to me that it was pre-planned, but how long and how widespread and whether there was any additional component of the plan, I just don't know at this point.
So what about if you are undocumented and you want to share photos or videos to the law enforcement and you are, you know, worried about your personal information being shared later on or you know, being anonymous? Can you comment on that?
As far as immigration status related to being a witness, you know, I try to work very hard in our community to put our community at ease about that. We don't ask somebody what their immigration status is. We're not really concerned about that. That's a federal function, and we're a police department, and we're investigating a crime. And I certainly would hope, I think if you were to talk to anybody in our community here in Gilroy that we've worked with, that they could tell you that we're good to work with and that they should not be concerned about that.
Special Agent Fair, can I ask you a question? You were asking yesterday for people to offer up some pictures they have taken at the fair, and also if they have any information to share with you. Have you gotten anything yet, or are they any useful hint or leads?
We've had a number of submissions, both video and still. I have not seen them, and I have not received the analysis of those just yet.
Is there any reason to believe he may have been targeting minorities?
We have no reason to believe at this point that he was targeting any protected characteristics or any class.
With no preliminary motive and the suspect deceased, how difficult will it be to determine an actual motive?
Well, I think that is going to depend on a number of things. Principally, review of digital media historically has been very revealing in terms of somebody's mindset, ideological beliefs, intentions. We've got to get into the computers, the towers, the thumb drives, the phone, to get a holistic picture of him, who he was in touch with, what sentiments and thoughts he shared with others, or he's cataloged for his own consumption.
How long would that take?
The answer to that is it depends, right? It depends on how quickly we can get into the phone. It also depends on how the ease with which we can enter into any of the other digital media.
Is there an early indication of what the motive might be?
There is no early indication at this point.
Have you linked in with the Instagram account specifically?
I can't comment on that because I don't know the answer. The presumption is yes, I understand what you're asking, but I don't have an affirmative answer to that.
Go ahead.
Chief, the three police officers who confronted the shooter, how are they doing? The second question is, has it been determined that they were the only three officers who fired shots?
I do believe that it was only the initial three officers that engaged the suspect when this occurred. You know, I placed them on administrative leave. I just did not want to put them in a position of having to come back to work and deal with all of this. You know, I think it's a very emotional thing for them. It's one thing to be involved in the shooting, but then they were also in the middle of the carnage of the people that were shot, and then immediately went into, you know, the rendering aid mode. And those two things combined, I think, for anybody is a very difficult thing to go through.
Is there any,
Hold on just a second, go ahead.
Chief, in relation to California AB 748, have you seen that particular evidence, and or do you plan on meeting the requirement related to that?
Yeah, you know, as far as the release of video, that's a new California state law. And I had one brief conversation about that this morning. And I'm gonna have to really look into how we're gonna be able to meet that, because the volume, I don't know what it is yet, but I'm assuming the volume of video is gonna be significant. And the video that we've released previously to California Public Records Act requests has required us to go through and redact uninvolved parties out. And quite frankly, for a department our size, I don't know how we're gonna do that yet.
Have you seen the video?
I have personally not seen any of the video, no.
Can you describe as maybe somebody who has? I mean, obviously, you had a lot of heroes out there that day it's gonna back a lot of that information up, is that right?
I suspect that the video is gonna give us, yeah, I believe,
Were these undercover officers that were involved? Or?
the three officers that were involved were fully uniformed officers. They were on one of the, what we call a rove team, whose responsibility is to rove a certain area of the park to deal with any issues that come up.
Will you be releasing the names of those officers, and are they veteran officers, rookie officers? And then my second question, you said the suspect visited local stores. Are you talking about like downtown Gilroy?
No, I think it was more the big box stores. But I don't have a list. I just heard that they tracked them, so I couldn't tell you what stores, but my impression was that it was local big box stores.
And then the officers, veteran officers?
I'm sorry, they are all veteran officers. And the question as far as releasing their name, you know, I probably will do that. I haven't decided when we would do that. I would really prefer to look after the best interest of those officers and get them the help that they need and then make that decision. But I would expect that we will release their names.
Is there any reason to believe that any of the victims may have been hit by police gunfire?
There is no indication of that at this point. Obviously that's something that I was concerned about, that I thought about. At this point, there's nothing in the investigation that leads me to believe that that's the case, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Question for the FBI agent. So this is the same tool, this website that you used in the Boston Marathon bombing, the Las Vegas shooting. Can you talk a little bit about what you expect to receive from the public and what you actually do with that information that you ingest?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Josh. The tool originated just subsequent to the Boston bombing because of the volume of videos and stills that came in. We're talking in the hundreds of thousands. So we needed a tool to process that information. That will go back to our FBI headquarters where it'll be co-located. It'll be analyzed by teams of analysts and agents back at our headquarters to try to pull together some mosaic to give us an accurate appraisal of what might have happened, the time flow, the people flow, show how the shooter came in and how he moved throughout the crowd, and provide other evidence, video documentation.
Any indication he was on 4chan or 8chan before or the shooting?
I don't have that information.
Go ahead.
Speaking of movement, can you clarify where the suspect entered the festival and his movements during the shooting?
I'll leave that.
So I have not personally been out there, so I'm going based off of briefings that I get. But it sounds like the movement would have involved, his car was located northeast of the festival grounds. And it sounds, or it seems reasonable that what he did was moved up through that creek, which is pretty heavily wooded. There's also running water in it. And made it down to a fence line because the entire festival grounds was fenced in except for the egress and points into the festival. And then used some tool, I don't know what tool, to cut a hole in the fence, and that's how he gained access into the festival grounds.
You mentioned that a shotgun was recovered from the car that was searched. Was any other key pieces of evidence recovered from there? And then the house on Churchill, here in Gilroy that was searched yesterday, was anything of significance recovered from there?
Yeah, as far as, the search warrant on Churchill, I do not know. I haven't gotten a briefing on what they recovered from there. In the car, the only thing that I was concerned about was the shotgun, which is what they gave me. And so I don't know if there was anything else relevant to them that was taken out of that either yet.
Can you comment on the status of the people who were injured? Have they been released from the hospital, or what's their status?
As far as the victims, I don't have a current status. I was given a status earlier, actually this morning, that several people had been released. Some people were still in the hospital, and I don't know the number, but there was someone that was still in very serious condition, maybe more than one.
Anyone critical?
I don't know.
So do you know how much ammunition the suspect had with him, how many shots may have been fired, and if he had any other kind of tactical gear with him?
I do not know that at this point. I want to close because I need to get going, but just for the press, for all of you, I've gotten requests from probably just about every news agency in the country for, can you do this? Can you do an interview? Can you? And I want you all to know that I'm not doing those because I don't want to. But as you can imagine, we have so many people and so many things going on that I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions, which is part of the reason why when you ask me very detailed questions, I'm not at that level. I don't have that level of detail because we're doing so many different things. I'm expecting over the next day or two or three that my role for that will start to decrease a little bit. And I'm hoping to be able to free up some time. And if I can free up some time, I'm going to try to start honoring some of those requests so that we can do more a personalized interview with some of you. So.
All right, so last question.
The shotgun and the ammunition, were they also purchased in Nevada or in California? And the other thing is, I'm a bit confused about, the Instagram account has been out for days now, and a lot of speculation on whether he was driven by some type of white power ideology. Is there any clarification that we can get, especially if you don't think he was targeting protected classes this far?
The shotgun was purchased also in Nevada. And as far as the ideology and the accounts, I'm not prepared to do that because that's one source of information, but we have so many different sources of information and they don't all align.
But is it linked to him, or a presumption of yes, that it was his account, or is it a dummy account? Do you believe it was linked to him?
You know, I really don't know. I have heard that as a rumor. I can't confirm that yet.
Do you know who deleted it?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who deleted that Instagram account?
I do not.
Was the victim killed on the scene?
So last
Yeah.
question.
Was the victim killed on the scene, or was he ever transported to the hospital?
My understanding is that two of the victims.
No, I mean the suspect.
Oh, the suspect.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, he was killed at the scene. He was not transported to a hospital.
And is his family being cooperative in this investigation?
So, as the chief said, and I mentioned at the beginning, our goal is to get you information as quick as we can possibly get it to you. The next press conference, with that said, is scheduled for Thursday at the same time at 4 p.m., same location. If anything occurs between now and the Thursday press conference, we will be sure to get that information out, and we'll continue to have the media line available to you. Thank you all for coming.